Namaste. In reality, every planet and every nakshatra is good or bad based on your karma. And that is why for a person, Rahu may prove beneficial, while for you, the same Rahu may prove highly damaging. The point is that how you use the energy of a certain planet is what decides the future course of your life. A knife cannot be labeled as bad or good. It all depends on how you use the knife. If you use it for a good purpose, then the knife also becomes a great savior, a masiha. And if you use the knife to kill somebody, then the same knife becomes the greatest enemy of your life. It all depends on how you use the energy of a certain planet. When you say that I am suffering because of Rahu, or I am suffering because of Shani, or I am suffering because of Ketu, it is because you have been using the energy of these entities or these planets for wrong purposes. And that is why this life you are suffering because of Rahu, Shani and Ketu. Otherwise, there are people who get many rewards from the same Rahu, from the same Ketu, from the same Shani. So the point is that a certain planet or a certain nakshatra becomes good or bad based on your own karma. And the more you live in ignorance, the more you continue to abuse others, the more you continue to hurt others, the more you continue to cheat others, you will create a sea of misery for yourself. And then neither Rahu, Shani and Ketu and neither Jupiter can help you, because you have been living your life in utter ignorance. The more the ignorance, the more the negativity. That is why you will see many people, many men and women simply hurting others by posting negative comments. All they have is poison within them. And then they say that I am seeking spirituality. I am trying to learn astrology. How will they learn? They are filled with so much of poison within them that all they do is hurt others, and these kind of karmas pile up, and then these people start suffering. That is why I always say that be careful, be cautious. There is no need to hurt others. Dalai Lama says that the prime purpose of this life is to help others. And if you cannot help others, then please don't hurt them. By hurting me or by hurting anybody, you are creating a vicious karma, and this is how you create many vicious karmas, which eventually become the reason for your fall. In this podcast, I have precisely talked on why a certain planet is not good and not bad. It all depends on how you use the energy of that planet. If you use it positively, then even Rahu, Shani, Ketu will prove beneficial. If you use negatively, then someday you are going to suffer a lot. More in this podcast. So let's begin. The ancient Indian food was in reality a reflection of our galaxy. The thali or the Indian lunch plate was filled in such a way that it represents all the planets and the sun of our galaxy. That is how advanced and rich our ancient culture was. It respected each and every planet of our galaxy. There was no discrimination. The ancient seers were perfectly aware that it is not the planets that are good or bad. It is the receptive power of individuals that decides what is good and what is bad for him or her. If your antenna is not receptive to a certain channel, that is planet, or is not able to smoothly display the signal of the channel, that is the signal of the planet, your television screen, that is your life, would mess with the display, that is the effect of the channel, that is the planet. Who is to blame? The channel, that is the planet, or the antenna, that is you? Sugar is sweet, but for a diabetic person, it is a sweet poison. Who is to blame? Who is bad and who is good in this case? Sugar or the diabetic person? Karela is extremely bitter in taste. Commonly, not many can eat it. For many, it is not a much desired vegetable. But for a diabetic person, the same much hated bitter gourd or karela is a lifesaver. Who is bad and who is good here? No planet in any birth chart is malefic or benefic. It is human beings who have the habit of discriminating. In reality, every planet in your birth chart has come with a message. Because you fall short of receiving and understanding the message, you end up asking which planet is causing you trouble and which planet is rewarding you with goodies. In reality, the trouble is not caused by any planet. And this is of great significance. The trouble is caused because from many past lives you have been messing up with the energy of that planet. And due to over messing, now in this life you aren't able to receive the energy of the same planet in harmony, in its full form. So the planet has nothing to do with your good or bad. All it has to do with is how you have evolved as an individual, how fine tuned your antenna is. Remember, if you suffer, it is because of you. If you feel blissful, it is because of you. Nobody else is responsible, only you and you alone. You are your hell and your heaven too. Always remember this. But people don't get it. How can they? When the astrologers themselves have been categorizing planets and stars in the good and bad list. When ignorance becomes your guiding force, you would find yourself in utter darkness. And the height is when you start believing this darkness as the truth. And that is what is happening. Astrology has become a business of fear. Create fear and then start looting. Fear sells faster than faith. This is the outcome of this Kali Yuga, dark age, age of ignorance. You all should understand that every planet, every nakshatra or star is positive. However, you have been using its energy for wrong purposes in your last birth cycles. And that is why in this birth cycle you are suffering. Not because of the planet, but because you have been using the planet's energy for wrong purposes in your many past births. And that is how Bhagavan Sri Raman Maharshi says, everything is perfect in God's creation. Ignorance and suffering exist only in the minds of people. One who speaks the truth is violently opposed, ridiculed, offended. Truth is very hard to digest. Millions of them who want to hear the false will oppose you. You will be labeled as a fool, but don't get lost. Don't give up. Once the Divine Master said to the young man, you will be rejected several times, but don't give up. The young man bowed before the Master and said, why more rejections and less acceptance? And the Master smiled, looked up, and showed him the highest mountain. And then he said, how many would accept the challenge to reach the peak of that mountain? And the young man said, very few. Then the Master asked, how many would reject the challenge to reach the peak? The young man said, many. The Master smiled, raised him up. He looked into the eyes of the young man and said, you are that peak. So you would face more rejections and less acceptance. The more you move towards the peak, that is the truth, the more you would be facing more rejections and less acceptance. More dislikes and fewer likes. Sounds hard, but that is how the truth is. Very, very hard. The truth isn't always beautiful, and beautiful words aren't always the truth. Truth is not always hard to find. It is often staring you in the face. The problem with truth is that it is hard to believe. It is even harder to get other people to believe. And the truth is that no planet is good or bad. You will find millions of books on how to find malefic or benefic planets, but no one is going to tell you why they become malefic and how to transform these so called malefic planets into benefic planets. I don't believe in parrot talk. I believe in self talk. By reading the books, you will talk like a parrot. You become a limited version, someone who can travel from A to Z. Then the doors close. Then there is no further going, and that is how the majority of astrologers have become limited versions. Albert Einstein says, logic will get you from A to B, imagination will take you everywhere. But I would want all my followers to become unlimited versions. Someone who can go beyond the set boundaries. Someone who would follow his or her heart. Someone who has a certain depth of understanding. Remember, a certain quality of understanding has to be there. Only then the truths can be given. People approach me with questions like, what is the purpose of my life? They want me to read their birth charts to find the purpose of their life. And this is the height of ignorance. No astrologer or no man can tell you the purpose of your life. You have to find the purpose of your life through your own self. Meditate, introspect, look within, turn inwards. But nobody wants to do the real thing. They want everything ready made. And so I ignore such men and women. What else can be done? It is sad to see the current state of things. People have fancy ideas about finding the purpose of life. I have met people across the world and they all have different ideas. But my answer to all my close followers who are unnecessarily putting a lot of stress on finding the so-called purpose of life is in the following quote of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama quotes, our primary purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. Interestingly, all these men and women who come and watch my videos or any other videos and who claim that they want to become astrologers, you see their comments. They are so poisonous within. They are so negative. They keep on hurting all those men and women who post their videos, and it takes a lot of efforts to post a good video. So you see, people are so shallow, and that is why I am always very selective when it comes to providing consultation, because I prefer silence over noise. Further, to get a deeper understanding of the purpose of human life, one more quote of Dalai Lama throws more light. The Dalai Lama quotes, I believe that the very purpose of life is to be happy. From the very core of our being, we desire contentment. In my own limited experience, I have found that the more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being. So beautiful and so true. But common men are not bothered to go deeper. They are happy to live a shallow life, happy to derive some shallow meanings, something that they can digest, and thus the categorization of planets, stars continues, when in reality neither Rahu is bad, neither Ketu is bad, neither Sun is bad, neither Moon is bad. No planets are bad or good. They are simply here in a certain situation. that is placement because of your past karma. Improvise, focus on raising the quality of your karma, and then you would never have to face with a question of how to find malefic or benefic planets. Even if you find, what are you going to do? The only answer is in focusing on your actions, your karma. But people are not comfortable with the truth. That makes them uncomfortable. Truth makes them uncomfortable. They are happy when someone gives them something that they can digest, that they can play around with. But I am here not to entertain you and make you comfortable. For truth is never going to make you comfortable. Truth is here to make you uncomfortable. Because it is only when you become uncomfortable that you wake up, you become aware, and it is only through more and more awareness that you can progress in life, that you can experience the real growth. Astrology is not a parrot talk. It is to move you from inside out so that you come face to face with the reality, so that you grow inside out. Remember, spiritual growth requires the development of inner knowing and inner authority. It requires the heart, not the intellect. I encourage all my close followers and fans and listeners to focus on your spiritual growth. I would want you all to become more and more and more meditative. Remember, there is no miracle in the world than meditation. It is the only science of transforming you into a new man. Real transformation is your inner transformation. Focus on yourself. Meditate every day. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Jai Sri Ganesha, Jai Guru. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.